Welcome back. You're watching the Independent Republican Mike Graham right here on TalkTV. We're going to be hearing from Rishi Sunak very shortly, the Prime Minister. He's going to be making his first speech at Tory Party conference. As you can see, we've got Penny Mordaunt live right now. Long-term decisions for a brighter future. Well, it may well be that they've got some long-term decisions, but it may not be the long-term government. That's the big problem. But we'll be talking about that coming up a little bit later on. Penny Mordaunt setting the scene. Very popular woman in the Tory Party, of course. We're going to talk now, though, to somebody else, Keith Prince, who is the City Hall Conservative Transport spokesperson, Conservative Party Assembly member as well here at the London Assembly. There's a mayoral race, not quite kicked off yet, Keith, I suppose. But basically, we've got a lot to talk about because one of the members of the notorious Blade Runners appeared exclusively on TalkTV and basically said that the group will not stop destroying ULEZ enforcement cameras until Sadiq Khan stops the expansion of the ULEZ area. So let's have a look.
A small group of people, and it has gradually grown, and certainly since the expansion went live on the 29th of August, the numbers have increased significantly. We're like a pack of lone wolves, so we sometimes work together. We work in isolation. We're not stopping until you stop. That's the bottom line.
So that's the bottom line. Those are the Blade Runners, as they are self-named. Keith, Susan Hall, who's running for mayor, says that if she was elected, she would do away with the expanded ULEZ zone. Are you in favour of her plan to do that if she is elected?
Well, just make it very clear that I'm speaking on behalf of the Conservative Party, not on behalf of the Transport Committee. Yeah. Because my views are about the Conservatives. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've spoken to Susan about it. She's very clear about it, and it's very doable. She can literally, on day one, once she's signed to take office, say turn off the cameras, or she can say issue no more fines. Right. And she is adamant that she's going to do that.
And you think that's the right thing to do?
Oh, 100%. Right. Yeah, this is an awful tax. This is a tax on those least able to afford it. In the light of businesses, if you look at charities, if you look at individuals, it's the least able to afford it that are being taxed by this so-called socialist mayor. It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So do you have some sympathy then with the Blade Runners?
Well, obviously, I'm not going to condone violence. Right. I'm not going to condone damage.
But it's not really violence, is it?
No, it's not. But it's damage to public property, and I can't condone that because, one, it's costing me and you money because we've got to replace and repair them. Two...
Well, that's all right, because I can tell the mayor not to bother replacing them. But don't worry, don't spend any more money.
But more importantly than that, it's taking up police time. This is the big thing. Police are investigating all these crimes when they could be doing other stuff. But what I think the mayor does need to be aware of is that this is a very clear message being sent to the mayor. Now, we had the initial expansion into the congestion zone. Then we had the expansion out to the A406, 205. Yeah. None of this happened then. Right. But clearly, he has misjudged this terribly. Yeah. And this really does show how emotional people are about this and how much damage this is doing to people. So that's what the mayor needs to pay attention to.
Well, I think when you see as well the sort of the arbitrary nature of where these cameras have been put, I mean, Paul Scully I spoke to earlier this week, who's been campaigning to have the one that's outside the Marsden Hospital removed because it's a cancer treatment centre. People are getting tickets for the expanded ULEZ zone because they're having to go to a hospital to get cancer treatment. Yes, they can apply for an exemption once they've got the fine, but they're still getting them. And so far, he hasn't had anybody at City Hall actually saying, that's fine, we'll get rid of that one. They've got people who have got, like, living in cul-de-sacs where they walk out the door, there's a camera basically filming them driving out their own drive onto their own street. So people are very fed up with it. And I take the view about the Blade Runners, that they're involved in what you might call non-violent protest in the same way that Just Stop Oil are. And there's loads of politicians who say, oh, Just Stop Oil are doing a good thing because they're trying to save the planet and they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart and their mission is a good one. Well, I might say the same about the Blade Runners and say, look, they're not harming anybody. It might be costing us money, but we didn't ask Sadiq Khan to spend 250 million quid on all these cameras in the first place.
Well, I'm not one of those politicians who would...
I wouldn't expect you to be. But there are plenty of them.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. And, Sadiq Khan has brought this upon himself because he tried to fudge, or his team tried to fudge the results of the consultation. Yes. The consultation, even after him fudging it, even after them ruling out 5,000 votes, he still had a consultation that said, no, we don't want it. And then he chose to go against the will of the people.
Exactly.
And, you know, lucky we're not living in the 1600s because we know what happened to the king who went against the will
exactly
of the people.
right. And you make a very good point that when the first expansion was made, nobody minded because people kind of got it and people understood it. And those who say, well, you shouldn't worry too much about it because it hardly affects any cars. Well, maybe, but it does affect poorer people. It does affect business people. I hear from people all the time on this show who ring in and say, you know, I can't afford to buy a new van. I can't afford to be compliant with the rules because before this, there was no compliance required.
Well, we'd need a 2-hour show if I had to share with you the emails, the really heart-rendering emails that I get virtually every day on this issue. It is wrong. What he's doing is wrong. And when they say only a few cars, oh, it's only 10%, this is nearly 1 million vehicles.
Yeah, right.
Well, if nearly 1 million vehicles isn't much, give me £1 million because it's not much.
Yes, well, it's not much to Sadiq Khan. He spends £1 million every second of the day. It's incredible stuff. But listen, Keith, I've got to ask you to, unfortunately, walk away because we can't talk about ULEZ anymore. Guess why? Because Rishi Sunak is about to head to the stage moments away